Hi, we're going to have a go at making a 3D model of the Barcelona Pavilion. This will be done using AutoCAD 2015. Everything that we do in this exercise is also doable in any version of full AutoCAD. Obviously the LT version doesn't have the 3D capabilities. So I'm going to start with the drawing that goes with this. We've got the base drawing, 3D base drawing. So this is just a 2D layout and elevation. Okay, now space on my screen's a bit cramped because of the screen capture software. So you'll notice that the tool panels here are a bit squashed up. When you're working in 3D, you also need to make sure you're in the 3D modeling environment, and you do that by using the Workspace switcher. It's this small cog icon at the bottom, okay, and then choose 3D modeling. Okay, now I'm just going to create a bit more space up here. I really need to see the coordinates panel and the layers panel fully. I'm not so worried about seeing modify, section or draw. I can get rid of those. So I'm just going to swap these over, and you do that by right clicking anywhere up here and show panels. And so if I get rid of modify, show panels, I can get rid of section, if I can find it. Section, I can't read. Okay, keep going. Show panels, I won't need view. Show panels, I won't need selection. Starting to be a bit more better now. That's actually enough for all I need to do. I can fully see the coordinates panel and the layers panel now. Okay, I'm also going to make use of typing in a few layers commands, because we've got quite a lot of layers in this drawing. You'll see here I've got some 2D layers. These are relating to the elevation here, and then the 3D layers are the ones ready to go. So the 2D plan has been changed to have these 3D layer names. So turning all these on and off is going to be quite time consuming, so we'll use the keyboard instead. And if I want to switch all the layers off except layer 0, then you would type in -LA. So put a minus in front of the command name and it forces it to not use a dialog box. So -LA, return, off, return, star, return 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, if I wanted to bring back on just the 3D layers, it would be -LA, return, on, return, 3D star. Okay, so the star is a wildcard for any layer name that starts with the letters 3D, and 2 returns for that, and it brings just the 3D layers back on. So we can see what's happened here. All the 2D layers are off, all the 3D layers are back on. So it's a nice quick way of controlling long layer lists, if things have been set up sensibly with layer names that will work. Okay, so if I want to bring all the 2D layers back on, -LA, return, on, return, 2 star. Don't even need the 2D. Okay, 2 star, 2 returns, and they come back. Okay, so what we'll do first is we'll stick this elevation. Well, actually no, we'll deal with the plinth of the building first, and we're going to give that some solidity, and then we'll stick this elevation onto this side of the model. We can use it for taking heights information from. Okay, so we want to work with just the plinth layer, so we want to make that current, and you use this icon for that, make current, or you find the list, you find the layer in the list and make it current that way. But this is a more kind of a faster way of working. Click on make current, click on the object, click on an object, and then we can turn all the other layers off. So -LA, return, off, return, star, return 3 times. Okay, so the current layer stays on. Okay, we want to view this in 3D, so we need to start manipulating the view. I would avoid using the view cube for this, it can get a bit messy. A simpler way is to use the orbit command from the navigation bar. This is called the nav bar. Okay, if the navigation bar disappears, and it sometimes has a habit of doing that, you need to be able to call it back, and the command for that is navbar display. It's a bit of a long one, but if you start typing slowly, it should start looking for the command itself. So there you go, got navbar display. You click on that. If the navigation bar has disappeared, it may still say that it's there, and a 1 would mean that it's still there. So putting in a 0 should make it disappear. There it goes. Press enter again, put in 1 and return, and it forces it to come back. Okay, so from the navbar display, the only one I'll use generally is the orbit command. So you click on that, and then using your left mouse button, click and twist over the model. Then you need to press escape to stop that. Okay, another way of doing that is to hold shift and your middle mouse button. Okay, so shift and middle mouse does the same, and this doesn't need an escape, whereas if you use the orbit command from here, you will need to escape. Okay, so what we're going to do is firstly extrude this outer shape, and this will make it into one big solid. We'll lift these shapes upwards to the top of the object, and then we'll depress them in to form some pools. Okay, so we're using, this model is going to be a combination of solids, 3D faces, and some lines that have been given thickness, which is a bit of a very basic way of creating a 3D surface, but it has its role. Okay, so we want to extrude primarily. Extrude. Now, when you're extruding shapes, they must be closed polylines. Okay, so you see this shape is closed polyline. It doesn't have any overlaps. There's no gaps, and there's no double lines anywhere. Okay, so you click on the object, press enter. We're seeing it's wanting to kind of go upwards. Depending on where your mouse is positioned, it'll decide on which side it's going to extrude. So try and make it look as if it's going to go upwards, and then the extrusion height 1200. Okay, just for example, if I try to extrude a normal line, just so you can see the difference, you get this kind of gridded effect. So if you see any of that, you need to do it again. You've done it wrong. You shouldn't have this any gridded effect anywhere. So we'll delete that. Get rid of it. Okay, and now we'll move these three objects upwards by the height of the plinth. So it's the move command, so it's M and return. Pick the three shapes and return. And we'll use our object snaps for this. Okay, we don't need too many object snaps available, so let's just kill off a few here. We don't need anything apart from endpoint just now. Okay, so for the height for the move, just use the bottom corner of the plinth, take it to the top corner. Okay, we're going to extrude these three objects downwards. Okay, so we extrude, pick the three again, and return. Now, if you show a positive extrusion but type in a negative number, it will go downwards properly. So minus 600. Okay, let's see what we've got. Let's shade that. I use the shaded with edges, so you can see it's still solid. We haven't got any cutouts yet. Okay, go back to 2D wireframe, and then subtract the shapes from each other. So this is where we can use these Boolean operations. The objects involved have to all be solids. Okay, you can also subtract a region from a region. Okay, because a region is still effectively a solid. Okay, so we're subtracting from the main object, return, then pick just 2 of these and return. Okay, this should leave this one as a small platform for a statue. So if we shade it now, we should have 2 depressions in the shape. Okay, let's go back to 2D wireframe and we'll deal with the staircase now. This could be modelled in many different ways. Okay, what I'm going to do is a kind of a lightweight model, so this will have combined, this will be 3D faced. Okay, but the important thing is we need to know how high each step is going to be. The steps have to be even, and a good way of doing this is to create a guideline for the heights. So we'll just draw a normal line on top of this. So the line command, just a basic line, press enter to finish. So there's a line here. Okay, then we'll divide that line so we can see what height should be for each step. So all we need to do is just count the number of risers. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we use the divide command, div, return, pick the line you just drew, and return. Oh, sorry, don't return, just type in the number of divisions we want, which is 8, and return. Now it's made marks on here, but they're so small we can't see them. Okay, I can highlight them, but they're a bit difficult to use when they're that small. And to get over that, we use the command called pdmode, pdmode, return, set this to 66. And that way we can easily see where the divisions should be. Okay, now we'll start off with the bottom step. It's probably easier when you see the stair develop. So we're going to draw on top of this shape. We can draw a 3D face. So it's 3F, return. You could turn ortho off as well. You don't need ortho on just now. Now, if you're finding it difficult to select an end point while looking through another solid object, then we need to disable what's called the dynamic UCS. Okay, it's supposed to be trying to help us, but actually it causes more problems than it solves. So if you press F6 on your keyboard, so on the top line F6, that should enable or disable dynamic UCS. Okay, make sure it says dynamic UCS off. Okay, and that way you'll be able to work through other 3D objects. So we pick 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and return to finish. Okay, there's only a slight clue there that there's a 3D face on top of the line. Just the lines look a little bit brighter. Okay, if I shade that, you should see that there is a surface in that position. Okay, back to 2D wireframe. Always work in the 2D wireframe view. It makes the geometry work a bit better. Okay, now we want to lift this up by the height of a node to a node or an endpoint to the first node. So it's move, so M, return, pick the shape and return, and I'm going to go from endpoint and I want to go to a node. Now I just want to use the object snap just once. So if you hold shift and right click your mouse, I can find node on here and take it to the first node. Okay, so that sets the height of the step. I can now put a 3D face on the front to create the riser. 3F, return, pick 1, 2, 3, 4, and return to finish. Just check that that step's looking correct. Okay, we've got the tread and the riser. Back to 2D wireframe, and we can just copy this, basically picking points on itself to reinstate the rest of the staircase. So it's CP, return, pick the 2 parts of the stair and return, base point, destination, and you just keep going with that. And we'll get a very clean staircase. These lines have done their duty. They can be deleted now. There's nodes in the line, and when we shade it, we should have a tidy staircase. Okay, back to 2D wireframe. Okay, and then to complete the initial plinth shape, we just need some water in these pools. I don't think we've got a water layer, so we'll need to make that one. So use the full layer dialog for that. Let's just bring this in so I can read it. Okay, I'll keep it tucked in so I can see it from now on. Okay, and we want a new layer, a new current layer we want. So this will be 3D water. Okay, switch it on, make it current, and change its color. Let's pick something watery. Okay, 125 will do me, and okay. Then close. So make sure it's the current layer. Make sure the green tick is next to its name, and close. Okay, so another 3D face here. The water only needs a surface to behave like a water. 3F, return. You don't need solidity for it. So work around the top of the pool, and similarly another 3D face on the top of this pool. Okay, and then we just want to move these two downwards by 100 millimeters. So it's M, return, pick the two shapes we just drew, and return. There's a lot of ways we could do this. Because it's just going to go straight downwards, we could put ortho on, pick a base point anywhere, set your direction, and look next to your cursor, and it should say -Z. Okay, so we've got ortho on in the -Z direction, so it's going downwards, and we want to go down 100 millimeters. Okay, if you can't see this icon, then you need to activate it if it's not visible, and the command for that is UCS icon. Press enter, and you want to switch it on to make it visible. Okay, you need to have that available to see which way you're facing for various parts of the model. Okay, let's shade that, and it should look like we've got some water in our pools. It looks a bit of a mucky colour, but not to worry. Okay, back to 2D wireframe. Now what we'll do is we'll bring back on the 2D information, and we'll turn it around and stick it onto the drawing. So remember the keyboard shortcut, -LA, return, on, return, to star, return twice. There's a few little bits of 2D information there we can delete. Just get rid of those. Okay, now I don't want to accidentally pick up anything 3D, so I need to be a wee bit more careful here. We also need to adjust our view to be able to rotate this. So let's work from the side of the model. Okay, now at the moment we're in the world coordinate system. There's a little square in the middle of the axes, and it says that we're in the world coordinate system just now. If I wanted to align my view with this side of the model, I would choose the right UCS. Okay, so the east effectively is the right UCS, and the west side of the model would be the left UCS. So we'll change to right, make sure this axis changes to suit the new UCS. Okay, now do plan and return twice. spell it right, plan, return twice. We're now looking at the side of the model. Okay, so this is the 2D information. If we rotate it in this view, it basically will peel it off the deck. So it's rotate, so it's RO, return, grab all that 2D information and return. Pick a point somewhere on it, it doesn't matter where. I'm just going to go for the very bottom here. Pick an endpoint, and I've got ortho on so you can see that it's rotating like a propeller. Okay, make it point upwards, single left click, that's it in position. Let's spin our view round again. Okay, so we've got it peeled up, so it's in the better orientation. Escape. What I want to do is move this and place the corner of the model, sorry, corner of the 2D information onto the corner of the model and then push it back. So that the last thing I rotated could be moved again. So try this, M, return, P for previous objects, so it's P, return, return again, because you don't want to move anything else, and the base point, the end point here, take it to the end point on the model. Okay, it's a bit close for comfort there, so let's push it back a bit. So M, return, P for previous objects, return again, ortho's on, so we'll keep it that way. Pick a base point anywhere and we'll just slide it back as if it's on rails, just slide it back so we can use that for references now. Okay, we talked about the staircase being able to be modelled in different ways. Let's just show you an alternative method of doing that. Because we had the 2D information here, we could have modelled the staircase using solids. So to look at that elevation and work on that elevation, I would need the front coordinate system. Okay, now if I do plan, I'm actually going to be looking through my own staircase there, so I'm not going to do the plan view. I'll just go closer in. I would make the plinth the current layer, and I could trace on top of this shape. So there's no need to deal with the top step, that would have been part of the main plinth already. It's really from this step onwards. So you'd need to use a polyline, so PL, return. If I drew from here, I'd need to go perpendicular to this line, so it'd be shift and right click my mouse to get perpendicular. Okay, and then the rest of the trace is using endpoints. Yeah, so if there was an elevation available, you'd probably use it. I get to this point, I want to close the shape so it's extrudable, so it's C, return. Okay, and now you'll be able to see that I could extrude this shape and it's behaving in the correct direction. Okay, if I didn't know how much to extrude it, I could move it across to the model, pick up the staircase and take it to the correct position on the plan and then extrude it from here. And all I need to do is pick an endpoint and we would have a solid version of the staircase as well. Okay, so there's two versions of the staircase there, one with solids and one that uses 3D faces. So it's your choice, whichever you feel most comfortable with. Okay, let's say that's part one of this video. It's 25 minutes in, so we'll stop that one just there and carry on again in a few seconds.